You likely didn't even think about using AI in travel videos, right? And honestly, I didn't think either at first because it feels like it could take away the vibe. But I've actually found a few smart ways to use AI that actually make your travel and other videos better. So in this video, I will show you how you can use AI to enhance your edits without making them feel fake or overdone. And you can even use it for better storytelling. Let's get into it. So the first one is that you can actually make certain shots in your travel videos wider than they actually are, just in case you want to zoom out a little bit or you want to add other animations, then that's really useful. And you can only do that if your shots don't have anything moving around the edges. If something moves in the center of the frame or so, that's no problem, but around the edges you cannot have any movement at all. And it should be a steady tripod shot. So if we look at this shot here, I just have a tripod shot of myself filming some stuff there, and here in Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve you can just export a still frame, ideally as a TIFF file because that preserves all the quality, and of course do that after color grading, otherwise you might also get issues there. And now we load this image into Photoshop, and I want this image later to be only 25% the size, so I want to zoom out 4x. So in Photoshop I will change the canvas size to 15,360 times 8,640 because that's 4 times the resolution of 4K. 4K is 3,840 by 2,160 and 4 times is that. That's why we can later zoom into 25% to get exactly the image that we had before, but then we have everything around it. And now you have this pretty much empty canvas with your image in the middle. And from there, you can simply select areas around the image step by step and then use AI to enhance it. Like, you don't even have to insert anything there. Like, you don't have to write a prompt. You just select it and use generative AI to build everything around it. It's not always perfect. You get multiple versions. And of course, if the AI didn't create what you had in your mind, you can just create another version of it, and always comes up with slightly different parts of the image, and you just do that until it fits. Just play a bit around with it, and after that you export that as a JPEG file, of course in highest quality, and now you can drag that into your timeline below the video clip, so the video clip overlays it. You make the video clip 25% of its original size and make sure, of course, that it stays in the center, and then you make that a compound clip. But you will notice that the edges are not perfect, which is because when you select the areas in Photoshop, it overlays the edges, and so it also recreates what's around the edges. So to make it look good, you would need to insert a mask and adjust the mask a little bit until it all fades smoothly together. And from there, you can simply go back into your main timeline, zoom in by 400%, because then you get exactly the frame that you had before. From there, you can add a zoom out animation, or of course you can also do the opposite. You can zoom in, and what you can also do is to add pen animations or whatever you want there. Like here, as you can see, when I just keyframe the position property here in the x-axis, you see we're getting this nice panning animation there. And of course, you can even spice that up more to sell it to the viewer by adding a handheld effect. So you have natural camera shake a bit in there. That's usually coming from your hand if someone else would film you, and then it looks like someone else just filmed you. So it definitely takes a bit of time, but if you have shots that are just not wide enough, or you want to add certain animations that would usually require zooming in, you can actually also add them by zooming out. And our next one is that you can also use AI to insert foreground objects to make your shots a bit more dynamic, to give them more depth. It's good sometimes if you just didn't have anything to place your camera behind while you've been shooting it in real life. Good example is this shot here. So it actually starts very similar to before, like we're exporting a still frame from Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve or whatever you use, doesn't matter. And I think I don't have to show you that again. So we're just starting in Photoshop directly. So we're having the shot here, and here I just select the right part of the frame where I want the foreground object to be, and then I simply give it a prompt. So in that case, very simple, I just write tree there, and let's see what it creates. I'm not perfectly happy with that, so let's try some more. So I've tried a couple of times now, and this is the one here that I like the most. It looks quite realistic and makes it feel pretty dynamic. There's also this one here, which makes it look a bit more Chinese. I like that too, but I think it changes the place a bit too much. I still want it to look somewhat authentic. So I will use this one here. It also gives us nice sunrise colors. And then basically the same as before, we're dragging it into the timeline and use a mask again to define which part of our image should show. So the foreground object and which part of the video should show. And of course, it's also important here that you use a tripod for this shot and that nothing moves around the edges. As you can see here, my shadow goes slightly towards the edges of the frame, but it's not actually noticeable when I mask that out smoothly. So here it works, and I would argue the shot definitely looks better than before. And another great way of using AI in your travel videos is if you only took photos of something, but for that I want to tell you a quick story. This is one moment I keep thinking about. I would just finish this long, steep hike, but when I got to the top, the view was unreal. Layers of mountains, the last lighting hitting the peaks, it was perfect. I wanted to grab some video, maybe even a time-lapse, but then I got a call and had to leave quickly. You know, cats. So I only managed to snap a couple of quick photos. Back home, weeks later, I'm sitting in front of my edit, and those few seconds of video I didn't get, that's exactly what I needed now. And that's when I found out Artlist's AI video generator now lets you animate your own photos. You upload a still and it turns it into a clip, adds camera motion, depth, atmosphere, and everything. It's just wild. So I took those throwaway photos and finally brought that moment to life. Okay, the story was fiction, but it's true that Artlist just added a feature to their AI video generator that lets you animate your own photos. So if you've been outside and you got a bunch of sick shots, but you need videos of those, or there are simply shots or animations you can't film, AI can do that for you now. Let me show you. That's one example of a photo I really love, and I already regret a couple of times that I did not take a video of it because it looks so good. So let's load it into Artlist's image to video generator. It automatically suggests a prompt, so let's just use that, switch to 1080p and see what it does. Okay, I don't like the pen because it ruins the framing, so let's change that up to zooming out. Yeah, that looks pretty good, but it's a bit too short, so let's change that to 10 seconds. Should have done it before. And yeah, we definitely have a usable part, so I could use it now in a travel video. Awesome. I also played around with two other shots, like this one here to add some motion to the clouds, and I think it comes out super nice. And this one here of my cat, where I didn't even have an idea of what kind of motion to add to it, but the prompt essentially did the work for me. I think Ken Burns would have loved this feature a few decades ago. If you don't know him, he made those slow pan and zoom animations famous in documentaries just to make old photos more engaging, and this AI photo animation, it's kind of like that, but for the 21st century. So it's amazing what Artlist created there. The whole story before was also made using their AI video generator, and they have lots of other stuff, some of the best music for your videos out there, sound effects, stock footage, LUTs, plugins, and pretty much everything you need to create awesome videos. So if you want to spice up your videos, or you have photos lying around on your hard drive that wait to be animated, definitely check them out. If you use the link in the description below, you get 2 months free of their yearly plan. So we already talked about adding foreground objects using AI to some clips in your travel videos, but you can do the same with the background. It's a bit more complicated in certain ways. So we're starting very similarly again. We're selecting a clip where the background is quite boring, like this one here, and extract a frame of it to again use it in Photoshop. It does work a little different here though, because you have to use the lasso tool instead of the normal selection tool oftentimes, because like here you have foreground objects like the stones here. So use the lasso tool to make a manual selection, and then you give it a prompt like Bangkok, skyline, clouds, blurry. Blurry is really important here, because if it's not blurry, it would not really feel right, because the trees here on the bottom left are also slightly blurry and the buildings are even farther away, so they should blur even more. And then we're waiting a bit, getting some suggestions here, and I would say this one here looks really nice. This is a beautiful skyline, awesome. So we export this shot again as a JPEG, track and insert that into Final Cut or whatever editor you use, doesn't matter, but ideally Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve, because Final Cut has the magnetic mask and DaVinci Resolve has the magic mask, and we need that here. So here in Final Cut, I would just click magnetic mask, drag that on myself, and it automatically detects me, masks me out. I can also, of course, select the stone here to be safe and click analyze. So it analyzes the whole mask here, tracks everything. And there you see it. It looks just like I would stand in front of a pretty epic Bangkok skyline. Now you could argue that you use that to change a place completely, like a viewpoint with that view would not actually exist, but this is, for example, good for storytelling purposes. Like, let's say, for example, you create a video where you're somewhere in your hometown and everything is boring, but then you watch all those epic travel videos. You just think, how can you have an experience like that? Then to visualize that, you could, for example, use an effect like that, because in that case, viewers would see the transition from an empty, boring looking background to that epic skyline, and that tells the story then visually. And in that case, it's also perfectly fine if people know it's fake, because they know, hey, this is for storytelling there. This is not to like show a viewpoint that doesn't exist or something like that. And I think that's important to make the distinction here between having a travel video where it's just about showing a place as authentic as possible, or if it's about storytelling. Of course, if you would want to get a realistic representation of that viewpoint here in Hua Hin in Thailand, where I got the video initially, then we would not do that, obviously. Also, if you have, for example, just an epic travel montage or something like that, then you can also use such effects to enhance that, because let's be real, we all love effects like that, right? Okay, let's come to the next one, and that's actually one that rescued me recently, and that's in DaVinci Resolve version 20. This is so cool. Like, I recorded this clip here. Let's have a quick listen. Related kind of to the snake stuff I told you before. And that is, so you can hear the audio of this clip is pretty much unusable. Like, I talked about some stuff in there where the cicadas in the background. It would be fine for like 10 or 20 seconds in a vlog, but that was not a vlog. I was talking there for probably, I think, 2 or 3 minutes after cutting it down. And you don't want to listen to that for 2 or 3 minutes. So in the past, I would have had to reshoot that take, and this place is about 1 hour from where I live. So I really didn't want to do that, and that's why I used a new DaVinci Resolve 20 feature. Like, 20 is in beta version right now. You can download it already, but it will also come out as a full version soon. So for now, the beta actually looks fine to me. I didn't have any problems, so use that. Now, you use a feature called Voice Convert, and to get started, you first have to use a clip ideally in a similar environment, but without background noise, of course, and select that in your media browser. And there you can give it a name, you can select the accuracy. I select better there, of course, because I want the best results. And it can take a little bit, like I let it analyze a pretty long clip of myself talking, so it took over 2 hours to analyze that, but it was totally worth it, because driving to that place, shooting there and driving back would have certainly taken more time, and I can reuse that voice model all over again for similar stuff if ever that should happen again, which I don't hope so. Now, after that, after creating this voice model, you select the clip in the timeline, you right click again, and there you find the option Voice Convert now, so you select that. And there on a track, you can first select which audio track it should use to generate the new audio. So select an empty one there, definitely. You can also select the file name, model name and stuff. And then on the model, they have a few predefined models, but here you see, for example, Pascal DJI Mic 2, because I got that from a clip that I used with that I shot with the DJI Mic 2. Then you also select tight matching to source, that's important. No pitch change, just leave it as it is and click render. It actually goes relatively fast from here, and then you have an audio that essentially sounds like your model, including the background noise, and it's perfectly lip synced. I would say let's give it a listen so that you can hear how it sounds after it was finished. I literally look a bit crazy when I'm traveling. It is always a camera in my hand, and he noticed that directly.
And he also told me that you see that in the videos later, because there's so much more footage that...
Of course, it's not perfect. There have been a couple of times where some words got slightly swallowed, but as far as I can tell from the comments of this video, no one actually recognized that that was not my actual voice that was talking there, but it was just essentially a deep fake from AI. And I think that's probably one of the best examples here to show you how you can use AI to enhance your travel videos, because when you film outside, especially with cicadas around you in tropical countries and also other stuff sometimes, you know, traffic, etc., and the normal AI noise reduction or voice isolation just doesn't really do it for you, it doesn't work, then this feature is just wild. Like, it can save you so much time and it doesn't actually fake something. Like, you still said what's being said there, right? So yeah, I get why people might be hesitant with AI in travel videos. I was too, but when you use it intentionally, not to fake things, but to enhance what you already have, it actually opens up a lot of creative options. You don't need a new camera and you don't need to spend weeks on visual effects. You just need to know what's possible. And as you can see, AI can even be used in travel videos, but it's not here to replace you as a creator, because real stories and real places, that's still what people care about. But we can use AI to polish what we already shot and tell those stories in a way that stands out. And if you want a few more easy tips on how to make your travel videos look better, check out this video here. There you learn more, and consider subscribing for upcoming ones.